Good morning. I don't care where you're watching this. It's just, and I don't care when you're watching this. Good morning. So Land Syndicate is coming up this week. It's the week before Land Syndicate, and I don't have a rhyme for it. Let me give you guys some information about Land Syndicate, all the people who are coming. It's going to be freaking awesome. We've got some tournaments that I've been waiting for Charlie to create. Charlie's been working too much. I might have to create the tournaments, but we'll have those to you this weekend. So you guys can all start signing up for the tournaments and winning some prizes. We do have lots of prizes from lots of different companies. I'll tell you who we have right now because I just made the poster here in Photoshop. We've got EVGA is going to have a booth there with a couple of laptops. So if you guys want to come by and play Doom on their laptops, you can do that. That's going to be fun. Deep Cool has a ton of prizes. There's going to be a Linksys switch on every table. So thanks very much to Linksys for that. Patriot's going to have some prizes there. Creative Labs has some prizes. OCZ, Mayflower Electronics, Gigabyte, and of course Epic Pants. So lots and lots of prizes for you guys to win at Land Syndicate. Be sure to bring a 20-foot Ethernet cable. You're going to need to bring a cable. If you do not bring one, we'll sell you one for like $5. But here's the catch: you got to make it yourself. So I'm sure we may have some people around who can help you make your cable, but you're going to have to pull it out, cut it, and make it yourself. Because that's the economical way to do this, and we're pinching pennies with this thing here. Also, other announcements. Do we have any other announcements about Land Syndicate? Damn it, I feel like we had something.
It's probably going to be better than TumblerCon?
Probably going to be better than TumblerCon. Guaranteed better than TumblerCon. If it's not better than TumblerCon, you get your money back. Maybe.
No.
No.
Money back? Sorry. No. What money? No. That's come on. Money's already been spent. Sorry, it's gone.
I think that's about it.
This is going to be making an appearance there.
We've invited some pretty important people. Oh, yeah. So, Amal from Dangerous Things, that's going to be there? Oh, nice. That was weird. I just saw... Turn that back around again. I saw my reflection in that thing. Oh, no. There, go back. Right there.
It's sentient.
Knew this was going to happen. Oh, man. So, anyway, guys, Amal's going to be there from Dangerous Things. And if you guys saw the video that created all the controversy about installing RFID and NFC tags inside your body, that'll be there. So if you guys want to get one of those and possibly have it installed right there at the event, you can do that. If you think it's the mark of the beast, or if you do not like the different insecurities or vulnerabilities with NFC and RFID, nobody's making you do it. Oh my God, you don't have to. So that's that. We are going to have him all on at the end of the show. We have an interview. We talked to him about all this stuff and had a little bit of fun. So we'll have him on at the end of the show. So stay tuned for that if you guys are curious about some of the questions you guys were asking about. How does it work? How's the app work? How's the security work? Other vulnerabilities, all that kind of stuff. We'll talk to him about all that. And of course there are some, and it's completely optional at this point. That's the thing. I don't think a lot of people, it seems like a lot of people who were commenting didn't realize that this was optional. They thought it was going to be mandatory. They were like, oh my God, you guys are endorsing government spying technology. No, this is something you install yourself. It's not mandated by the government. So let's not, we've got a tinfoil hat on, but you guys have like a tinfoil body cover on. Just, hold on a little bit with that stuff before you freak out. I find that when people, I didn't get one installed because I'm not 100% on it. But I'm not going to judge.
I'm not interested in this technology until challenge response works. Challenge response is the only way to do this. An RFID tag is a radio tag. I need challenge response. And none of this elliptic curve bullshit either.
The NSA is waiting. Ooh, elliptic curve. See, for me, it's like, I don't know, if I install one of those things, well, yeah, of course, I want to make sure that it's 100% safe as far. I know it's not going to bother me if I install it, but if I was to karate chop somebody or hit them, I want to make sure it doesn't break. They say it's safe for like working out and climbing and playing sports and that sort of thing, but I'm talking like, I want to make sure it works with Marshall contracts. That's what we do around here. We do Marshall contracts. If you guys read the contract for Land Syndicate, you'll see that there's Anyway, stay tuned at the end of the show for that. And for the love of everything holy and decent, just calm down. A lot of times when people are ignorant about things, they tend to hate them instead of or do research. If I don't understand this stuff, let's just hate it and kill it. Guys, it's okay. You can let other people do things. It's okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. Moving right along here. We're going to talk about games and hardware first. we're having fun to
Yeah, we're
start
gonna
the
mix
show
things up
today.
a little bit.
Yeah, why
So
not?
you can skip the last half of the show for a change.
Yeah, if you're sick of hearing about the NSA, and we're not going to talk about the ISPs and stuff. We'll talk about some political nonsense. Anyway, the Doom beta, open beta, is going to happen on exactly the days of LAN Syndicate. So we will be playing Doom at LAN Syndicate for sure. Yay!
Of course, we made that happen. That was us. It was all us.
Yep, I called them 50 times. And they were like, who are you guys again? Who are you guys again? Who are you guys again? And finally someone's like, that's Tech Syndicate. They're okay, I guess. Almost as cool as Linus. that's what they said. No, they didn't know. They didn't say that. So yeah, we'll be playing Doom there. Some Doom deathmatch here. I'm looking forward to this, but I hate to say it, but I'm looking forward to just Doom 2. Just as much, if not more. I don't know. Half-Life
I'm looking
1.
forward to that multiplayer Day of the Tentacle.
Hey, how about VR? VR is all over the place right now. We've got Oculus Rift, Vive, HoloLens. HoloLens? Where the hell happened to HoloLens? It's out, but it's not out. I don't know.
HoloLens is out. If you ordered your HoloLens dev kit, people have been receiving their HoloLens dev kit. Microsoft's last preview build, which is the one that adds the Bash command prompt on Windows, support the whole Linux application binary compatibility layer. That was all added in the last Windows preview build. So if you're on the fast ring, as they call it, then you get all that, and you get all the cool Oculus support. Although, I thought it was interesting in the release notes, they said, if you need some of this stuff, yeah, go for the fast ring. But some of the Oculus stuff is broken, so switch to the slow ring if you're in the fast ring, because we just don't care. It's broken in the fast ring, switch to the slow ring, it'll be fine. But that was to do with emulation and some of the tools in Visual Studio for HoloLens development and that kind of thing. The thing that's different about the HoloLens launch versus the Oculus and the Vive is that the HoloLens is more like the development kit. So it's really like the Oculus, original dev kit from years ago launch, as opposed to Oculus VR and Vive, which are now saying it's like everything is ready, it's good to go, blah, blah, blah. But, launch titles for the Vive and the Oculus, where are they? Where's the good game? Where's the killer game? We don't know.
I guess my big problem right now with the Oculus in particular, besides all the Facebook stuff, I mean, they're using this thing as a giant data mining tool that you strap to your head. And I think that if you purchase one of these things, it's sending a bad message, because companies, if the Oculus Rift is successful and they make a ton of money, what these companies are going to take away from this is like, oh, hey, people are okay with all these exclusive titles being tied to one specific headset. And they're going to say, we can just live right up their butt, and they don't care. So that's what we need to be careful about, and that's why I'm not buying an Oculus Rift. And we may actually do a full-on Rant 30 segment about this. As far as the exclusive titles go, I talked to one of the engineers from Oculus Rift at one of these events, right? And I said, hey, are these titles going to be exclusive? And he said, maybe, but they don't have to be, and I'll tell you why. He said, have you ever had a title that's like an exclusive title just for Samsung monitors? He said, it's not that ridiculous, but it's almost that ridiculous. Because if it works on one headset, it should be very easy to make it work on all the headsets. And in the future, this should be completely standardized. So if it works on Oculus, it should work on Vive or any other headset that has similar technology. And their technology is not that special compared to anything else. So them having a huge library of exclusive titles just to sell their piece of hardware that's going to be up your butt really kind of rubs me the wrong way. So they're up my butt and they're rubbing me the wrong way. This is something that I don't want to pay a lot of money for. It's a bad trip to Vegas is what that is.
The spying is so bad that Senator Al Franken is investigating to figure out if they need to actually do something to make them stop spying. There's apparently an admin rights level service just running in the background all the time, watching what you do, sending data to Facebook servers.
That's what I want.
Thanks, Facebook.
So yeah, I'm not enthusiastic about the Oculus at all, even though a couple of the games on there look cool, look like stuff I want to play. It looks like I'll be regulated back to exactly what I've been doing before, going to trade shows and playing these games for 5 minutes and saying, it's okay. That's pretty cool, I guess. Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's pretty much exactly my experience with the Oculus has been. Except, it's freaking heavy. Yeah, it's kind of heavy. Anyway, yeah. Anything else we want to talk about there? As far as the headsets go, we got all that out of this. That's pretty much it. Not much to report on headsets. On these VR headsets.
Yeah, I really want to like them, but I don't think the software's quite there yet, and I don't know that it's that much more fun than something else. But I'm actually more excited about headsets for portable computing than I am for anything. So when I have to go board a plane or I have to travel and I can't have my giant wall of monitors, if I can wear a headset that's a virtual wall of monitors, I wouldn't mind looking like an idiot in an airport. That'd be completely fine with me.
All right, let's talk about this censorship business going on with the iPhone and the iOS devices. So Apple has patented a method of being able to remove explicit content from movies, audio books, and that sort of thing. Just whatever. And I'm not sure exactly what the definition of explicit is, but if you have a bunch of stuff on your phone and it's offensive and explicit to you, their devices will be able to either replace it with a clean version or just mute or bleep out the offensive parts of this. I can see people freaking out about this technology, but again, this doesn't look like it's mandatory, so I'm not sure if it's anything to freak out about, since you can turn it on or turn it off depending upon your sensitivity level to words and things like that. If they could censor blood and gore, they would just pretty much turn off all American television. Like, oh, you guys can watch TV from other countries, but no longer America, because America's all about dismemberment these days. But I don't know. Do you think this is anything to freak out about, or should we be watching what they're doing with this patent as if they, do you think that they're going to go and start editing audiobooks to remove passages that they don't agree with? Because that's the conspiracy theory side of this. And I don't think they're going to do that. I just don't think they're doing that. But I don't know. What do you think?
It's going to be amazing when this technology starts censoring, like, To Kill a Mockingbird or The Diary of Anne Frank or something like that. It's just like, no. This gives me a really hideously evil idea, though. What if we took this technology and applied it to, like, social justice warriors or something? So whenever somebody gets their knickers in a twist about something that's completely irrelevant and inconsequential, we can tell them to download this browser plugin that will effectively give them the clean room, straitjacket browsing experience that they want without actually ruining everything for the rest of us.
That's that would be nice. Yeah.
It's like, look, if you're not ready for Catcher in the Rye, that's cool. Install this, and you'll never have to deal with it again.
Oh my God, Catcher in the Rye was on our mandatory reading list in high school, and my mother hit the ceiling. She was so upset. What is this smut doing on your reading list? And I was like, and I was like, now, Mother, do you realize that I really want to read this book now? I really, really want to read it because of your reaction here. So I got it, and I was like, my mother, she went in and they're like, oh, you can read Treasure Island instead, and I was like, I already read that, but nobody knows that I already read that. So I'm going to be like, okay, cool. I'll read Treasure Island. So I got Catcher
Laziness
in the Rye.
wins again.
I got Catcher in the Rye and put it inside Treasure Island, and I'd sit there and be like,
the old dust cover thing. It's like it's the Treasure Island dust cover with Catcher in the Rye, and then inside that is Playboy. Yes, there we go. We've got it's amazing.
It's the turducken of books.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
I'm reading Treasure Island. Everybody's wondering why I'm cursing so much. Anyway, I've got Open Bazaar
books. Honestly,
I've got Open Bazaar open right now. Well, at least the article on it. So Open Bazaar is Bitcoin's answer to Amazon and eBay and all that sort of thing. It's essentially a store similar to Amazon and eBay where you can go on there and you can list stuff, and it looks pretty interesting. But it's specifically designed to mimic behaviors of websites like Amazon, eBay, Alibaba, where you have multiple different people on there that can sell things and you can give them ratings and all that sort of thing. And then you can use your Bitcoins to purchase things. And it's also not going to be something that's clandestine or secretive. It's just a regular store where you can use Bitcoins to buy regular things, not drugs or chemicals to build bombs, to melt people and stuff like that. So I wonder if the people that are looking at this are going to give this a negative spin, like, oh, they're using Bitcoin to buy things. It's the devil. I guess people who do not understand things always do stuff like that. But I don't know. I want to be keeping a nice eye on this store. Let's open it up here. Wizardry spells for sale. Oh, you got to download it. So you haven't downloaded this yet. So free market for all with no fees and no restrictions. I'll download this
So why
later.
don't you guys that have much larger Bitcoin wallets than we do try this out and let us know how it is, and let us know how much we should poke at it and that kind of thing. There's some video
If
demos.
I were a
and some other
robot, I'd be able to replicate that
We think
feat
it's an
without any...
interesting premise, but we don't actually know anything else more about it.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah, I don't have a very big Bitcoin wallet. Shall we talk about robots? We always talk about robots and the future, which is them supplanting many jobs, taking all of our jobs. But what happens when robots start writing books, painting paintings, making songs? And what if the algorithms that we create for these robots allows them to make more perfect art than a human can make? So let's talk about it first off from this angle. There's a team of technologists working for Microsoft, and they created an AI that was able to analyze Rembrandt paintings. Like, it would take measurements of like how the eyes worked and how he did the nose and all that sort of thing. And then all they have to do is they go into the program and they're like, give us a portrait of a male with a beard and give him a white collar and a hat. And do it in the Rembrandt style, of course, and go. And so the computer then has freedom to create this. And the computer painted this Rembrandt. It's not a Rembrandt anymore, but it's certain. But mathematically, this could be a Rembrandt. So once we have computers that can mimic the styles of the masters, and possibly computers that, once you add in different algorithms, can start to be more creative. I mean, I want to know from you guys, would you buy a really nice painting or a really abstract painting, or whatever your style may be, whatever, if it's like something that hits you and you're like, oh, that's really nice, would it change anything if you're like, this was painted by a computer as opposed to this was painted by a human? Would that change anything? Would you still want that on your wall? Would you still pay money for that? I'm sure it would be a little less expensive, possibly, who knows. Would you want that just for the novelty of it? In 10 years, when the novelty wears off, would it matter to you? Is there a market for this? I don't know. Would you hang?
I think there's definitely a market for this.
Would you hang a robot painting?
But yeah, I wouldn't care. I mean, the interior design component of it. It's like, let's have a painting that goes with the room, or let's theme a room after a painting. Sure, okay, that sounds good. You could have kind of an original Rembrandt, but not really. I kind of like the thrift store paintings that people add monsters to.
Those are my favorite.
I think that's kind of funny. But, I could see, imagine, I don't know, SpongeBob SquarePants done in the Rembrandt style. That might be interesting. Could be neat. Would somebody hang that in their living room? I don't know, probably. There was some actor that had, like, the Andy Warhol style, the soup cans thing, but it was not the soup cans, and it was just something goofy that they had done themselves, and people were like, oh, is this a Warhol? And it was like, oh, yeah, totally. No, it was just somebody made something in Photoshop.
So I guess the one thing that they've not been able to reproduce with the robot right now is the actual painter's brushstrokes, because they're doing 3D printing as far as the painting goes onto a canvas or whatever. But I'm sure it wouldn't be too difficult to get a robotic arm and give it an arsenal of tools. I mean, they're doing this kind of stuff with cooking and everything already. I'm sure that they would be able to just have a robot who could actually grab the paint, mix the paint it onto a canvas, and then that would simulate the artist's brushstrokes and that sort of thing. I think it'll be kind of an interesting.
Picassos, here we come.
All kinds of them. So yeah, that's what we should build the first one and just hang out in the basement printing all these Picassos and stuff.
Oh, it's another undiscovered Picasso. Look at that.
Or I could just roll around on the floor and throw up on a canvas, and we'll call it a Pollock and be done with it. $1 million. Look, I dropped some paint in the floor. I dropped some paint. $1 million. So there's also, was it April? I believe it was April or February in 2014. The LA Times had an article written. It was one of the first written for the LA Times by just an algorithm, and it came out right after an earthquake. If you guys remember that, And now a team in Japan have worked with artificial intelligence to create a novel that won some awards. So what is the world going to be like if the robots are doing all the artwork as well? I mean, what if they come up with stories that George R. R. Martin couldn't even conceive? That's really, I don't know, that's hard to imagine, but an AI in 10, 15 years could possibly be at that level depending on what algorithms you throw it at. It's going to reproduce based upon what you throw at it. But if they study George R. R. Martin and you throw a bunch of stuff at it, hell, who knows? All right.
Well, I think the iteration though for this is going to be that the creative types use this to percolate their own ideas. So the computer can just throw lots of really terrible ideas at them, but from that, they will improve their own work. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it might come up with a novel or it might come up with other stuff, but a human writer could look at that and say, how can we tweak that, make that a little bit more interesting, or tune that and maybe do something else. I mean, it's pretty much where pop music is. It's all basically formulaic, but a human will take it, sort of tweak it a little bit and be like, yes, this new formula will be even more appealing to the masses. It'll seem familiar and yet new. And so, yes, market.
I've got a feeling that artificial intelligence could do a better job at creating stuff that's still considered pop music but less derivative, because I can't tell the difference between songs these days. If you turn on the radio, it's like, and then the 90s, everything sounded like the exact same grunge band, and then, it's just pop, whatever. The top 40 stuff it all sounds the same. I wonder if a computer algorithm could improve upon that.
I agree.
Charlie agrees. He just walked in and agreed with me.
All I heard was top 40 stuff all sounds the same. I mean, I agree.
Nice.
You want to do anything, by the way.
All right, we'll make that tournament schedule. We got to make that tournament schedule with Charlie. Doing the tech right now, though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's funny. And Epic Pants. Let's take a look at that real quick. Go buy everything on there. All right, we'll come to your house, put matches between your toes, and never light them. Just make you hold them there for a long time until your toes get so tired, but you'll buy stuff. That's a great sales pitch for our store. Anything new? Yes, our Land Syndicate shirts. Those are new. This is one of my favorite shirts. I keep mentioning this, but I freaking love this shirt. It's subtle and kind of cyberpunky, but that one. But the shirt of the month is also very cyberpunky. Kind of has a Deus Ex vibe. I didn't actually say, hey, let's make this like Deus Ex, but I said, hey, let's use blue and have cityscape, and this is what I got back. So cool. Anyway, that city's generic. Some people were saying, oh, that's not Seattle. I'm like, no, it's not Seattle, because Land Syndicate may not only be in Seattle. This is our Land Syndicate thing. So, yeah. We'll have a special Seattle t-shirt coming out very soon as well with an 8-bit skyline of Seattle. And that'll be available at the event and elsewhere. Thanks to the Patreons. You guys are keeping us alive. I think we have an office window. I got confirmation today that I can sign the paperwork Monday.
Ooh. Yay.
So I'd say this is like 80%. The last one was 90%, and that one fell through. I rolled a 1. I rolled a 1 for find office. So, yeah. Hopefully I'll roll above a 5. I need to roll above a 5 this time to get the damn office. And this place is a little better because we are working with a local company to install Gigabit, and we should be able to get Gigabit for $60 because that's how local companies do it. And that'll be freaking awesome. So check out FiberSphere if you're in the Portland area. They're a small team of like 7 or 8 people. We'll work together with them to make some documentaries of us installing it, rolling out fiber, and they have some secret projects that we are not allowed to talk about, but we're going to try to do some behind-the-scenes stuff on, just the way that they're rolling out their fiber. They have pissed off Comcast, which is freaking hilarious. They rented just a couple strands of fiber from Comcast going into one building, and, the building had like 100 tenants. And the next thing you know, they signed up the entire building, and Comcast is like, we are never renting any fiber to you ever again. So... But yeah, they pissed off Comcast already. I'm like, good job, guys. You guys are great. For reference, Comcast wanted over $1,000 for 100 megabits. And these guys are like, no, we'll give you $60 gigabit. Yes. All right, you want to talk about Nest's nonsense that's going on? The Revolve has been turned off. Now, the Revolve is something that
this
came
is a
out
preview of the Internet of Things. Pay attention.
The Revolve came out about a year or something ago, and everyone bought it up. Then Google bought Nest.
More than that.
How long ago did it? How long did it? April. When did it come out? I don't know.
3 years.
2014. 2014.
Yep.
Yes. I don't know. That's when Google required
Oh.
it, but it's been out for a few years. Anyway, at that point in time, people bought these things. They've been under 3 years that they've had this thing. And, this is a home automation device. And they were promised at the time, lifetime upgrades or lifetime updates and that sort of thing. And even if they don't get lifetime updates, it works. And, you think when you buy something and put it in your home, like you put a thermostat or a garage door opener or something like that, even if you're not going to get a firmware update for your garage door opener, it should work forever. Well, now that we are completely connected and the Internet of Things is here and everything is phoning home to Google or to Apple or to I don't know, Yahoo doesn't have anything. But now that everything's phoning home, well, the control no longer lies with you. And there are a myriad of other problems. When I'll let you take it away from here. And give some
this
warnings.
company was a Google acquisition, but is now under Alphabet. Google has basically given them autonomy, but there have been a number of interesting developments. One of the engineers posted to Reddit or somewhere, and he's like, "Hey, I'm an engineer. I work inside the company that delivers this thing, and let me tell you, inside this company is a hot mess. We have engineering, management. Our executive team has no idea what they're doing. They keep changing the product. We don't really know what's going on. We're going to have to turn the servers off because we're hemorrhaging money. We literally can't afford to do this anymore." And so a lot of people that have these Revolve hub devices are sort of discovering it's like, wait a minute, this is much more dependent on the cloud than we realized. And so what these things do is, when you get home, it's like, oh, you're home, let me turn the lights on or turn the sprinklers on, or you can set rules that are like, if it's after sunset and I get home, turn the garage lights open the garage door. But if it's not after sunset, don't bother turning the lights on, do this other stuff. You can also control things remotely, log in. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do, and it can interact with other standards. So like there's Z-Wave, which is a standard. There's a myriad
is one of
of
them,
home
yeah.
automation standards, and Zigbee, and
I've actually used Zigbee.
and
It's
the thing
pretty
basically
nice.
speaks to everything, and Wi-Fi. So, basically, this thing is as good as a doorstop now. And they were really expensive when they came out, about $300, and now they're about as good as a doorstop, or they will be in a month or so.
Yeah, I'm kind of enthusiastic about the whole home automation stuff, but I want full control over it. And that's when we go to Computex. The big focus in Computex is Internet of Things. And I'm going to be looking for the smaller companies who are making stuff that's not reliant upon the cloud. Like, I know there are going to be some there, and we will find them. Companies who are making stuff that is, you can run your own server, at your house. Or you can maybe host something on the internet. You'll still have to be connected to that, but that way you'll be able to, access your device outside, or maybe, I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be some stuff that is interesting out there, but also gives you the control, and that's what I'm going to be looking for at Computex. We will find it. If not, you can build it, right, Wendell? You've been working on some of this stuff for a while.
Yeah, it turns out the Internet of Things is something that consumers should wholeheartedly reject, and it turns out that there's whole cottage industries out there that are predicated on giving consumers the tools that they need to sort of DIY the same style of home automation. But it doesn't depend on the cloud, and it doesn't depend on companies. Your thermostat is not going to stop working if your internet connection is out. If you want to be able to control your thermostat from your phone and your internet is out, well, you're not going to be able to do that. But the thermostat will keep working, and the same with all the rest of your home automation. You can't pull all the intelligence out of it and then have that in the cloud. That's just a dumb idea. But that's where the Internet of Things is today, because it's assuming that the internet is always there. And this is, as sophisticated consumers, this is something you guys should look for in the products you buy, and don't buy products that are like that.
Now, I think that it's going to be impossible to stop the Internet of Things as it is now, because most consumers are, they just take what you give them. They're kind of ignorant, and they don't do a lot of, they're like Bernie supporters. They don't do their own research. So there's going to be a lot of that kind of stuff out there. But I know our audience is, by and large, our audience is a little bit smarter or a little bit more well-informed. So maybe you guys, while you're looking around, just think about, is it worth the extra convenience to buy this device? And, we'll do everything we can to bring you the interesting technology that, just like Wendell said, is not always on and always phoning home. So, yeah. we talk about the Panama Papers? John McAfee wrote a little article here on the Panama Papers. But the interesting
I like his
thing,
article because it's not insane.
yeah, it's just straightforward. It's just about, this is mainly not about the, well, he mentions some of the stuff that's come out of the Panama Papers. Basically, several years ago, we made some laws that made it very easy for the elite to avoid taxes and hide large sums of money. It's basically what it is. So a lot of people are being outed. The president of Iceland already stepped down. So I think it's great. People take to the streets there and they just like demand that they step down, and then they step down. Like, awesome. Iceland, you guys are awesome. If you had more trees, I'd move.
Well, Iceland was kind of weird. The prime minister didn't exactly step down. He took like a leave of absence or something, or his deputy had to take over for an indeterminate amount of time. But I don't think he actually ended up resigning completely. So he could come back at some point, but he is sort of in this leave of absence limbo. But then the whole David Cameron thing, David Cameron got caught up in this thing too, which is the other reason why we mention this, because he's like, we need, transparency, and we need to be able to get into all this stuff. And then it's like, all right, here's all your stuff and all your dirty dealings. And he's like, oh, this isn't good. We need better security, and we need to not have everything out in the open. And it's like, wait, that's a terrible double standard. So those of you that are in the UK, what do you think about this? Did you notice that? Did you notice the double standard here with Cameron doing one thing, and now this happens, and he's like, oh,
I'm trying to
private
find
affairs.
I'm trying to find that funny Snowden tweet, because Snowden just tweeted like a link to something, and he was like, "Oh, now you care about privacy." So well,
not only that, but Snowden was prompting UK citizenry. It's like, hey, the 10% of the voting population in Iceland, had a problem with this, and their PM took action. Where's the outrage in the UK? It's up to the British citizenry to, decide what they want to do here. So
I don't know. Iceland, that's what I feel like. Even if the prime minister or the president or whatever he is in Iceland, even if he does come back, I feel like the people will take to the streets again and demand his head. Just like they did with the banking systems and stuff. They were dragging people out in the streets. So,
well, what's cool. Interesting is that there weren't any Americans targeted in this. And so some people have said that this is probably like George Soros is doing. I don't know. Maybe. I think that the whole thing, I mean, me personally, I don't really know, but I have in my head that there's this game being played between American oil interests and other foreign oil interests. And the game is, we're going to drive the price of oil down because we've got so much oil, we have to be the ones to make the money on it. And then the American companies are also making a lot of money on petroleum and things like that. But they drove the price of oil down so far that the American companies couldn't compete, and then they were going under. And so this is sort of a revenge move to get back at the oil companies in general. But the level of corruption here, it has simultaneously kicked off so many investigations and so much interesting stuff. And you'll notice that we didn't need any encryption backdoors or anything for this. This is just, good old-fashioned leaking. It was actually just really poor security on the part of the firms involved. And that's kind of what McAfee's saying here. He's like, this is a preview of things to come, because hackers are going to target law firms and people with sensitive information, and they're going to bring all this out into the public because security is awful. And so why do we want to make security even worse when you have crazy people like Dianne Feinstein and the people in charge of the FBI wanting to weaken encryption and do all this other stuff to it? And it's like, look, it's already as weak as a wet paper bag. What is wrong with you people?
Yeah. I can't say what I really feel, but I think it's interesting when hackers hack law firms, because that's where all the juicy bits are. Something always interesting happens, and it seems like one of the other points that he makes in here about hacking the law firms that I also found funny is, like, a law firm, the average size of a law firm is around 100 people. And the budget at these law firms for cybersecurity is almost nothing. It's next to nothing. So a lot of them have few safeguards, if any, in place for someone who could just breach, collect all the data, get the hell out of there. And that's where all the juice, it's got like records, financial records, just social security numbers, everything. All kinds of interesting things there. Who knows what you'll find. Let's see what's next on the list here. We got a few more hardware things here to talk about. First off, this cold fusion article came out in Miami. The Leonardo Corporation announced that they've had third-party validation with overwhelming positive results for nearly a year-long test, saying that they were producing way more energy than they were using. About 6 times, and sometimes up to 50 times as much energy as they were consuming. Oh, that's a 352-day test.
That's promising.
Period. Very promising. So we'll keep an eye on it. I'm sure
Extraordinary
we're
claims require extraordinary evidence.
Yeah. So 352-day test we'll need. That's just with one outside, independent third party. I want to see more independent third party tests. But it's a good direction to be going in. That could really help with, a nice clean source of almost infinite energy. Cold fusion. All right. Samsung smart contact lenses with a camera built in, and you can control it by blinking, and it'll also project things into your eyes. They have patented this. I don't know. I think I would rather have the bionic implant version of this, but that's probably dangerous. So a contact lens that can project some information into your eyes. This might be, if it works in the future, this might be what Google Glass was not. If it works. I'd have to try them on and be like, whoa, this kind of works. It feels weird and dangerous to have something that close to your eyes with some electronics on it doing things to your eye, projecting images into your eye, but I'm sure that they will take that into consideration, because just a few people's eyes frying out of their head will completely destroy their marketing for this product. And then it'll be like the whole hoverboard thing all over again, except this time it's in your eyes. So I don't think that's going to be a thing. Bionic eyes.
Can I just get some glasses with built-in LCD? I mean, that's all I really want.
Like Google Glass type thing, or just like an actual built-in LCD?
Yeah, but something that just looks like an ordinary pair of glasses, but actually contains a high-resolution display. That's what I want.
The battery power is always the problem with that stuff. So I wonder what they're going to do with this.
Yeah, that's true.
Have a giant battery
high-intensity
hanging out of your eye
electromagnetic fields.
everywhere. That won't mess with
I
your
did
sleep
not
patterns
need
at
cancer.
all.
It's cool.
That's what they need to figure. After they figure out a cure for cancer, then we can do this. Not worry about anything. And then we have to cure sleeping, because I guarantee that's going to mess with people's sleep patterns. All these magnetic fields pulling you in all different directions. That'll be weird, man. This is a quick funny mention.
It's funny. Well, no, I'm sorry. I was going to ramble, but it was the people that sleep on mattresses that have. I think this was in one of the Freakonomics books, but so countries that have mattresses that don't contain metal have a lower incidence of cancer than countries that have mattresses that contain metal.
Interesting.
Correlation's not causation, but it was an interesting story. It was like, maybe the radio frequency, can we correlate this with something else? And they took people that live near radio towers to look for higher incidences of cancer beyond that. And there was, I think, if I remember the study correctly, there was a slightly elevated risk of cancer if you had a metal frame mattress and you lived near a radio station.
Weird. I've always had wooden frames and foam beds, so I feel like I'm lucky and didn't even know it. All right, let's.
I think Japan has just like a foam mattress kind of a deal. So
yeah, it's pretty much how I do it, Japanese style.
The rates were not higher there, which I thought was interesting. I could be misremembering though. It's been a few years.
It sounds right and it feels right and it makes me happy, so I'm going to believe it. And it's what I do. It's what I do, so therefore I'm sure it's the truth. Anyway, speaking of, this is just, we have two quick facepalm articles that just facepalm and move on. But 50% of people who find just like a USB stick lying around would put it into their computer. Just find a random USB stick. I'm not talking like a USB stick that you may have lost in your office or something. I'm talking like on the road or in a coffee shop, just lying around. Be like, what's this? 50% of people would. Yeah.
And that should be a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But remember, computer security is about as good as a wet paper bag. So don't do that.
Talk about. You ready?
Yep.
All right. Are you guys ready for some facepalmy articles? So this is kind of a funny article. They surveyed 24,000 people worldwide and found out that 71% of those globally think that the dark net or the dark web should be shut down. So it's a little facepalmy because they obviously do not know what the dark web is. I think there's a lot of people out there who do not know what the dark web is in general. There's dark web, there's deep web, there's regular web, there's spider webs, cobwebs, and other types of webs.
Surface
web of lies.
Sometimes
Yes.
is what it's called.
Surface web, the HTTP stuff. Or just index stuff by Google. It's all.
Think about all the stuff that's on the internet. Because these terms are ambiguous, and even we're not going to get it completely right. Like, it's really...
There's going to be one guy in the comments who freaks out.
Definitions of these things. More than one, probably. And so we'll just give you a little primer. The deep web is, I think, mostly publicly accessible websites that are not necessarily indexed by Google. So when you go to Google and you type in, funny cat GIFs or whatever, it's indexed by Google. You can find it. It's discoverable. That's sort of the surface web. That's sort of the web, where you're using a search engine or using other tools to find things. The deep web is things that search engines don't necessarily index. So you might have, a search the Library of Congress type website where Google's not indexing those pages, but you can search those pages at that specific thing. Maybe you go to, a particular site and you search for something on that particular site, and it will return results that are not in Google, but it's still publicly accessible. Wikipedia has its own search, but Wikipedia's search, the things that it returns are also available on a Google search, and so that's not really the same thing. The deep web is mainly things that are searchable and publicly accessible, but that you can't really get to. But then the dark web, so if you install WordPress and add the robots.txt to tell search engines not to index it, that would be the deep web, because you can still use the WordPress search to search the site, but search engines will never return it because you've said, hey, search engines don't return it.
Yeah. So people who have installed WordPress probably have a few folders in there that are deep web and a few that are regular, unless they just don't index any of it. I don't know. Dark web. That's stuff like Usenet, Tor, and other things. So it's a little bit more confusing. What is the dark web?
Well, yeah, I mean, some people think of it that way. Technically, Usenet is publicly accessible, but the dark web, like Freenet and Tor, are what primarily come to mind, especially in a lot of publications. And these are parts of the internet where it's on the internet, but in order to access it, you have to have a special tool or something you have to download. These things sort of run anonymously, and so it's something that runs on top of the internet to provide another layer of protection or another layer of anonymity. And generally, you can't access it. It's sort of non-public in that you have to do some hoops to jump through it. I've seen some people say that, the dark web would also include things like paywalled sites or sites that are otherwise protected in some manner, or sites that you have to jump through some hoops, or sites where you have to have a cryptographic key. There's some people that have taken sort of this stint on Freenet. There's some tools out there where unless you've shared a key with somebody, you can't access the site, a cryptographic key. And so all of these different things, depending on how, there's many shades of gray here, but depending on, how far you want to go, that is the dark web. And everybody, because of media, people think of the dark web as exclusively a bad thing, but these are just tools. It's how you use them. And in fact, a lot of the content that is available on Tor and Freenet is actually legal. Between 30 and 50% of it is legal in U.S. and the U.K. law. 50 to 70% of it, depending on, this was another study that came out, is not legal under the law, at least as far as Tor goes, according to this one study. But that doesn't mean that the whole thing should be outlawed. And so it's just crazy, uneducated public stuff that are saying this. And so it's important to try to understand the difference between the deep web and the dark web, and that there are many shades of gray, as it were, for the dark web.
And I also want to mention that a lot of websites, they confuse deep and dark web, or they just lump them together into one big thing. Like they just call it the dark web, and they include deep web and dark web into this one thing. And I've seen some statistics that say that, like 80 to 90% of the entire internet is the dark web. and they mean to say that that is the deep web. Like a lot of like most of the internet is actually deep web. So I don't know. We need to make a video like the more you know before someone on the internet just reads a Wikipedia article and calls it something quickie about all this stuff. So, but I think we would have to really get the definitions down, because this is going to bring out a lot of neckbeards who are ready to. They're sitting there with their freaking internet guns to shoot us. That was dumb. I'll never do this again. All right, this is a phone that I'm very curious about. The new Huawei dual lens phone that's co-branded with Leica. And I'm just curious about this one because of the quality of pictures that they say that they're able to produce. They have 2 cameras on the front, and they're working together with Leica for the sensor and that sort of thing. It's not actually going to be a Leica lens or anything like that, but they're producing some very interesting effects using these 2 lenses. I'm not sure exactly how they're doing it, but they're creating like professional grade background blur, professional bokeh, they say. That's something I'm very interested in, because with a small sensor, it's almost impossible to get that. So they're able to get very shallow depth of field with a smartphone. That's pretty cool. I'm not sure if the dynamic range is going to be there, but I don't know. For people who are big into taking photos with their with their phone instead of using a regular camera, or if they just want to carry around one device but they want stuff to look professional, yeah. The other thing that they said that you could do with this, with the two lenses, is you'll have some ability to focus after the fact. So if an image is not very sharp and the sharpness is because of the focus instead of motion blur or something like that, then you might be able to focus after the fact. So that's some pretty interesting technology. I want to play with this before I would endorse it or anything like that, but I don't know. The demo shots look nice. Maybe I can find one while I'm over in China, unless they're going to be selling them here. They should be selling them here somewhere.
I wonder if this is one of the sensors that uses the layered CMOS sensing, because we've seen those those cameras that can focus after the fact, and the way that they capture depth of field and a whole bunch of other things is by having a sensor that is layered in 3 dimensions. So it can capture photons at the surface, photons that pass through a little bit, and photons that make it a little bit of the even deeper through the substrate.
They're probably doing some voodoo magic that has something to do with a bit of that, but I don't think it's nearly as sophisticated as like the Litro cameras that full on do what you were just describing. But I don't know. Could be. A couple more articles about robots taking our jobs. I thought these were going to be earlier with the other stuff, but we have a fleet of trucks driving themselves across Europe right now. They're going from the Netherlands, and they're going to basically be driving across Europe. Very interesting. So, got a fleet of trucks here. I thought it was funny. Someone put up a picture on Imager the other day that was like, we've got fleets of trucks driving themselves and people online playing video games where they virtually drive trucks. So, I think it was funnier before. Anyway, McDonald's. We've got a couple fast food articles here just talking about the automation. Just a quick update on the automation. So in response to some of the minimum wages going up, now we're seeing these kiosks, instead of actually having a person there, where you're able to go in and tap the screen and make your order that way instead of having to talk to a real person. There's still going to be real people in the back, but they're going to need to hire fewer people to work in the front. And in theory, you should be able to place your order quickly. I'm not sure if you'll be able to get it fully customized. Like, I want 1 1/2 onion slice. Maybe it'll be like heavy onions, light onions. I don't know. I don't go into McDonald's. But if you guys go in and see one of these, let me know what it's like. I'm kind of curious. They're also adding self-serve McCafe stations, where you go up there and stick your hand under and burn yourself and sue somebody. Or no, I'm sorry, you put a cup under there and then use a tablet to pick what you want, and then it makes your cup of coffee for you. I'm okay with this kind of stuff, but some people are going to yell that it's taking jobs.
I think that a lot of this that McDonald's is doing is in response to rising minimum wage in
that's what I was mentioning,
America. Yeah. But the automation of these kinds of things, is it ultimately good for humanity? I mean, I can't imagine a lot of people get personal fulfillment from serving food at McDonald's and doing that kind of thing. Maybe it's good if you're, a high school student or somebody starting out, somebody working part-time, somebody that needs a job to fill the gaps. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this shakes out.
More fast food news. Taco Bell is thinking about implementing a chatbot powered by Slack, I believe. So when you go to do your order at Taco Bell, you're going to be talking to a chatbot. And they'll never be mad at you no matter how much you yell at them. And you won't be able to climb through your window and fist fight after you're drunk at 2 a.m. and why are you driving to Taco Bell? Because that's what you do, right? You get drunk and drive to Taco Bell. Why would anyone else go there? So yeah, Toxic Hell will have chatbots to take your order.
So Domino's, you can order a Domino's pizza from the command line of any Linux system. There's a command for that. And it's because Domino's has made public their API. And I can't help but think this is just a clever marketing ploy by Slack, because it's like, just open your goddamn API. It'll be fine. And then we can just do whatever the hell we want with it. Not this chat. It's like, oh, you have to order through a chat bot, not any kind of normal API. You make me, as a developer, have to write some just god-awful library that simulates a conversation of a human being to order some damn tacos, when you could have just given me a well-documented API endpoint. And then if somebody wants to build a chatbot on top of that, fine. That's completely fine. But don't make me go through the chatbot to make it function like an API. That is the dumbest thing that I have ever seen in my life. There is no excuse for that level of ignorance and stupidity.
I don't know if this is going to work so well in Kentucky, because people driving up to the window being like, I need 2 quesadillas and 1 empanadas. It's not going to work. You can't order a quesadillas when you're talking to a chatbot.
I just don't think people are ready. Like, I don't think it's because people are hicks or rednecks or anything. I just don't think that people are ready for this kind of thing. I think in New York, my experience with the average New Yorker is that they would just assume, punch you in the face as talk to you. So I think this would work great in New York. Somewhere else where it's like somebody just wants to talk to somebody. I mean, there's a lot of people here that are just lonely, and it's like, oh, I want to talk to somebody in the drive-through window, and if they don't have that, well, I mean, it's going to be bad.
Is there a Taco Bell in Williamsburg in New York? I wonder. I don't know. Anybody live in Williamsburg or somewhere around that area? Let me know if there's a Taco Bell in that area, because I'm curious as to what it would be like there. I think they're going to have to program the chatbot in that area to be condescending and judgmental, or else it just won't feel right. Like, nice shoes, want a taco? There's some designer tacos across the street, but I guess you've let yourself go. That's how they should talk to you. And then you'll be like, oh, that's ironic. I'm going to get 10 tacos. Oh, I'm not on the screen. You can't see my looks. All right. Let's talk about the FBI and the iPhone. That's always fun, right? No, not really. But the FBI, they figured out how to hack into the iPhone from San Bernardino. They're telling senators and stuff how to do it in private sessions, but they're not telling Apple how they hacked the iPhone. Should the FBI be required to tell the manufacturer how they compromised their device? I think they're afraid that Apple will be like, oh, you found a vulnerability, let's patch that up, but they want to keep the vulnerability open. That's my takeaway from this. Do you think that they should legally be required to tell Apple? I mean, Apple, I'm sure, is going to want them to tell.
So, some very astute observers pointed out when this happened that the FBI had created a market that was far worse than the criminal market. So, when a software exploit is discovered, a black hat hacker, meaning a bad guy, might put that exploit up for auction on on the dark web or whatever. And, to the highest bidder, $100,000, I've got an exploit that can compromise Chrome and give you full root access cross-platform. They might actually get $100,000 for that on the thing. Google will pay for that as well, though I don't think it's $100,000. It's considerably less than that. And so there is a marketplace for this kind of thing. Well, we have a government now, and so that's kind of a gray area, the whole marketplace. But now we have a government that's saying, oh, we would like to buy these tools. And so that kind of legitimizes what was happening in these criminal circles all along. And so now it's not just that Google can say, we'll pay you $1,337 or $13,337, which is what historically Those are some of the amounts that they've paid people that have found vulnerabilities in their software. Now, the hackers are going to have options, and they can go to someone that's much more deep pocketed. I mean, well, okay, it's hard to have somebody that's more deep pocketed than Google, but the hackers are going to be able to go to governments and be able to sell this to multiple different governments, multiple different customers, because they're not going to share it with each other. They're not going to leak it. They're not going to, there's not, versus on this criminal sort of dark web thing, when they sell it, it's basically out there. They can sell it once or twice, maybe get their money, maybe twice. But now it's like, we can sell to the, we can sell to Assad, we can sell to the NSA, we can sell to the GCHQ, we can sell to Australia because, I don't know. And suddenly it's a whole different world economically. And somebody pointed that out when the FBI sort of created this situation. And so in terms of like user security and security of the platform, that's really bad. But it has been leaked that this particular hack only works on an iPhone 5C. So that's good, at least. And it's probably to do, you guys remember when we were doing the iFixit thing, we were talking about how if you've replaced components in your iPhone after the last update, the iPhone craps the bed and is like, whoa, unauthorized repairs, something went wrong, because the phone marries the fingerprint sensor and the phone does some other stuff. Probably the exploit has something to do with that, because the iPhone 5C did not have hardware sophisticated enough to deal with that, but the iPhone 6 does. So that'd be my guess as to what's going on.
And then we've got people like Dianne Feinstein, who want to compel all the companies. She came out with some legislation today. I just found out about this, as Wendell told me right before we started shooting.
It was leaked.
But she's working on a bill that would force technology companies to decrypt any messages under court order.
Wired describes it as ludicrous, dangerous, and technically illiterate. We would confirm that analysis.
I like Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon, man. It's nice. I want to meet this guy. He's always seems to be on the right side when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, hopefully he'll be able to help fight this and maybe shine some light on some of the ignorance that's going on. It's people the older generations are, by and large, the ones populating the Congress and the Senate, and they don't understand technology, and that's a big problem. And then they're being paid by whomever to be on the wrong side, and maybe they're innocent, maybe they're not malicious, maybe they're just stupid. And I think she's just stupid and malicious at the same time, probably, because she's always doing bad stuff.
The two quotes. The two quotes in the article, or the two tweets in the article, are really amazing. The first one's from Matt Blaze. Matt Blaze, yeah. You should know the name. I think he's the guy that cracked the Clipper chip. You guys remember the Clipper chip? If you don't know the Clipper chip, you should know about the Clipper chip. But he's the guy that cracked the Clipper chip, and he said, I could spend all day and night listing the various ways that the Feinstein-Burr bill is flawed and dangerous. But let's just say in every way possible. And then Kevin Bankston says, if Grandpa Simpson was a senator who was afraid of and confused by encryption, I think he'd write something like the Feinstein-Burr bill.
See? Exactly what I'm just saying.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, next up on the menu, Windows 10. Have you installed the Windows 10 preview with the Bash shell? Like the actual, I know you had the developer build or whatever, but do you have the preview, Windows 10 preview version?
I've attempted to do it. I have not succeeded on doing it on the Surface Book, but I have succeeded on doing it on another machine, and it basically works as advertised. It's not actually terrible. It's console only. There's no X Windows or anything like that, but you are able to run the Linux console and run tools like Git and Ruby and Redis and Python and everything in full Linux Ubuntu glory, but no X Windows for you.
That's going to be really handy for Git. Because we're using Git for version control for the Zweihander game. And that will be really interesting.
Well, Git Bash for Windows is not bad. It's not terrible. The most interesting changes are subtle ones. So using PuTTY and using Cygwin and using Git Bash Windows is basically awful at text terminals and moving really quickly. Windows 10 is better. Windows 8 was just unbearably awful. Windows 10 is a little better. But with the Windows 10 update, the font smoothing and VT100 control character code stuff is actually noticeably better. It's actually really, really crazy. What are you doing?
I'm getting my hat on because we're talking
What's
about
that?
the UFOs next. I'm getting this is my hat.
Okay, we mentioned the UFO thing just because it's funny, not because it has anything to do with technology.
But you should put on your tinfoil hats.
It's not exactly
right now.
tinfoil. It's like your
I don't know what I've got on my
your
head right now.
anti-static hat.
This is an anti-static. This is
So-
a graphics card.
I don't
A
know. One
Jerfix
of the for those of you that are living under a rock, America is going through perhaps the most disappointing presidential race in centuries, perhaps since the founding of the nation. It could be argued. It's
I don't know.
really bad.
It always
it's
feels like
really
the most
bad.
disappointing thing when you're. Yeah, this one's bad. So, all right, let's just go ahead and.
It's like a fridge, a doorstop, and a shovel are running for president, and it's like okay.
I'm voting for the shovel. Because at least the shovel can dig
Yeah,
a
I mean,
hole
it's
big
like,
enough
who
to bury
knows?
us all.
What?
Anyway, let's. I'm
Area 51.
just gonna play this for a minute. So, John Tapper, he worked with the Clinton administration, and now he's one of the campaign chair for Clinton, and he's here on the record on CNN saying that that Clinton may or may not know some things about UFOs, and that he thinks the American people can handle the truth. And when
Well, she's
asked if he-
promising to release everything
right?
because the American public can handle the truth or whatever. I mean,
I think she's just that
What?
desperate that she's like, let's try this as a tactic and see. Because right now she's like, well, if Donald Trump can get this much support, maybe we can get support from people with, who live in the middle of nowhere with 90 cats, who like UFOs. I don't know. I don't know what the tactic is here, but yeah, he did say. Also, when he go ahead.
Clinton has previously stated that I think we may have been visited already. On what basis, Senator, would you say that? Can you elaborate? Do you know something the rest of us don't? Can you share now? Because you say that if you're elected president, you would share. But if you know this now, why not share now? I mean, I'll bite. That sounds interesting. Of course, Bernie
knew
Sanders has been dismissive of UFO talk, and of course we all know what Trump thinks. It's like we need to build a shell around the world.
We need to build the biggest shell, the most fabulous shell around the entire globe, and we're gonna make the aliens pay for it. It'll be beautiful. Trust me. It'll be the best you've ever seen. Listen, believe me. Believe me. Yeah, exactly. I don't even know why we brought this up, but it's kind of funny. I can't believe that that's where we've gone in this.
I don't even know why
election
we put
cycle.
this in here.
But it's funny that that's what it's actually legitimately being
again-
talked about by people in power. Yeah.
Why? What happened? What happened to America? This is not the America that I learned about in history class. This is, I don't know what, have we all been abducted? Are we on like a hollow transport ship because the aliens are going to put us on a different planet and the simulation doesn't have enough CPU power to do things that make sense? Is that what's going on? Because that seems like what's going on.
I know how Hillary knows. She knows because I saw a video on the internet, and I'm pretty sure Bill Clinton is a reptilian. If you play it in slow-mo, notice that every time he moves his head, he becomes a crocodile. This is real. Go ask David Icke, you guys in London. Ugh. Somebody bought me a David Icke book, and I got like 15 pages into it, and I was like, are you just joking? Yeah. I got some weird friends. All right, guys, thanks to about everything for everyone. It's good. See you guys at Land Syndicate that are going to be there. And any more announcements?
I'm going to be there. I've got to board a plane.
Yeah. We'll all be there. And a bunch of other YouTubers are going to be there, too. YouTubers? I don't consider us YouTubers, but a lot of them are YouTubers, so. Paul and Kyle will be there. Barnacles will be there. Timmy
Oh
Tech
God,
TV,
we're a
Joker's Blunt.
subculture.
I think we're a subculture. We're
I
that
don't want to be a
underground.
subculture. I just want to be some guy.
Can't help it. But if you're the king of the subculture. Maybe. Anyway.
I don't want to be the king of. I definitely don't want to be the king of the subculture.
Yeah. Your beer's not long enough anyway. It would never work. Could have at least you got to have like a system.
Not long enough or necky enough.
Yeah, you need to have a senior administrator beard. All right, guys. We'll see you guys in the comments on the website. I hope you guys enjoy. Oh yeah, let's do the stuff with dangerous things right now. Watch that video. We'll see you guys later. This is Amal from DangerousThings.com. He makes some dangerous and interesting things. Welcome to the second best podcast in the world and the seventh best thing on the internet.
Oh, seventh.
Yeah, statistics have shown.
Pretty great.
I don't know what the first six are anyway. So quickly, you can tell everybody what you do.
Sure. I make things that go inside of you.
There you go, everybody. Wait a second. What kind of business is this?
We make RF transponders, biosensing magnets, all kinds of biohackery.
Biohackery. So you put this in your body, then you have, it's essentially like a fob or something, right? You run around and
Yeah.
you can use it for stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, you can get into houses and cars and stuff.
So we're going to make a video just showing everyone how to, well, not how, I guess kind of a how to install this, but we're going to install this. You're getting one?
I'm going to get one. Actually, I have a question before
Zach's
I get
getting
mine
one.
installed, so I'm going to ask this.
Sure.
Do you have each one of the RFIDs? Are they've got their own like serial code already built into them, or do
Yeah.
you program those?
Yeah, so the depending on the type you get. So the XNT is the world's only NFC compliant RF transponder that can be implanted. So it has its own 7-byte unique ID. But then it also has user programmable bytes, and like you can put a vCard contact on there. You could put like a Rickroll video URL if you want. You can do like whatever you want. One guy put on like an animated GIF, so he had like a digital subdermal tattoo. You'd scan it, and would like animated GIF would come up.
That's interesting.
Kind of
Yeah.
interesting. So then the next question I've got is: are those logged somewhere?
The serial numbers?
Yes.
So they are, but we don't actually know which ones are which. So we just know that if you scan a tag with our app, then we unlock features, so we know it's one of ours. But we don't actually record who gets what or anything like
You're
that.
not like John Smith at this address gets this ID.
No, and actually in the like if you look at any kind of pet tag, right, it'll come with the serial number of the tag on a barcode that's inserted in the thing, and you can like stick that on on paperwork. But we specifically left that out, and so we wanted to be able to pull the numbers off to test them, because if you're putting it inside of you, you want to make sure it works before you put it in, right? So when it's in the metal needle, you can't read it. So we test every chip first, then put it in the needle and have it sterilized. And that testing process pulls the serial number off. So we do have like in an archive somewhere a log of all the tested serial numbers, but we don't like keep track of who has what, no.
I mean, you mentioned pets now, and my brain went somewhere. Would these work in a pet?
They could, but they're not used in the same way. So like
Right.
a pet reader would not be able to read it because that's a pet tag. And
But I could get a purse dog and use that to open the door. I could be the only guy on the block that opens the door with my dog.
Potentially, yeah. You could even build a little door, dog door that would read it with a little access control.
Oh yeah, so you can come in and out of the house. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so what's
I had a movie
the
idea, so it's okay.
So what's the weirdest thing you've ever heard of someone using this for?
I think, aside from the animated GIF, the artwork thing, a guy actually put a geocache site on it, so you had to get that geocache, you had to find him and like tackle him and then read it. Another guy actually, for safety reasons, he built it's called the highlighter, and he built a trampoline that when you jumped on it, had a sensor that had like a flamethrower, and so it would only work if he scanned in, like he didn't want kids jumping on it.
Guar's trampoline.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty cool.
All right, you got any horror stories? I want to hear some. Or ridiculous stories. I mean, ridiculous is always good. Eh?
I mean, the not necessarily related to this. I mean, this is kind of it's not really anything interesting.
All right, so
going on.
let's get into your background a little bit, and I'll ask that, and we can lead
Sure,
into
sure.
some fun stories. So how did you get started in just technology in general?
Well, I mean, I think all kind of like tinkerers are interested right from a
Yeah.
small, taking things apart, and that's definitely me. I'm like a jack of all trades person. I'm not an engineer specifically, but I know how to handle soldering iron. And so I know enough about code and hardware and all this to know what's possible. And so I kind of put ideas together and then get the right people involved and do that. But I mean, specifically, I got involved in this type of stuff in 2005. So I was working on HIPAA compliance for medical offices, and I had this giant jailer keyring, and it was pretty ridiculous. And I just looked at the key and said, this is like this key is a piece of metal that's cut in a certain shape to identify me. It's pretty archaic, and
Right.
it's got to be better. Like, so I looked at iris scanners and fingerprint readers and all that, but back then, like 10 years ago, and still today, they're clunky and they don't really work well,
Right.
especially if you're carrying heavy gear and you like put your eye up to the thing. It just doesn't, no. So I liked RFID, like the badge thing, you just pop it up there and it opens. But I didn't like the card to carry the card. So I found a company that made the PET chips, and I saw their full product line, and then I called their engineer and I said, hey, do you guys change the glass or the epoxy? Like, because certain types of automotive tags, like in keys, they're toxic. Don't put them in your body. But I talked to the engineer, and it said, yeah, it's all the same stuff. We just use the same manufacturing line for different chips, but don't implant them in an animal. I'm like, that's okay. I'm not putting in an animal. Bye. So, but I did ask him why, and he said, well, because it's the wrong chip type. It won't read with an animal scanner. I'm like, well, I don't care about that. I know about the technology. So, I talked to doctor clients at the time. I had 22 doctors as clients, and they were all like, yeah, okay, that sounds doable. Let's do it. So,
Nice.
Yeah, boom.
And there it goes. All right, so you mentioned a fun story. We got to get into some fun stories.
Okay, so being having some media coverage about implantable chips, right? It raises fears and concerns, and I get people emailing me, like religious people, saying
That's always the best.
You're working for the government or the devil or both, and you are the like all this stuff. But the one weirdest, craziest one was that on the sadder side, I also get people emailing me like help me. I got a chip put in me by somebody, and I'm hearing voices. They're controlling my minds. Like, they're mental,
good.
right? Mental, right?
Right.
And I used to engage because I'm like, oh, that's so sad. And like, you don't have a chip. There would be no point. And if you're concerned, go get an X-ray because you can easily see.
Right.
But this one time, like the last time that I really engaged with those emails was this woman contacted me, and she said that her boyfriend had put chips inside of her, and that he was a hacker, and he was controlling her and all this stuff. And I'm like, it just doesn't work that way. And I kind of had a correspondence, and she said, well, his name's Kevin Mitnick. I don't know if you know him, but it's just like, he's doing this bad stuff. And I'm like, I know the guy's name. Like, I know who Kevin Mitnick is. But like, obviously you have like a mental issue. And so I emailed Kevin, because he's easy to find, right? She's like, hey, this person contacted me about like chips, and like she needs help, and like, whatever. And so then like a day later, she emails me back, you told Kevin. And I was like,
well, that she's not lying about their connection.
right? So they are connected in some way, but I can only hope that she got the help that she needed. But
wait a minute, was she Kevin?
I don't know, maybe
Just messing with
socially engineering me. I don't know.
No, what did you give them?
Right, exactly. All the codes.
No, they're in us. They're hacking us all right now.
Right, exactly.
We have no control.
Yeah, but I get emails from people like, my child was kidnapped, and I want to be able to protect my other children, and I mean, horrible stories. Even like people from Brazil and like Mexico. And I'm like, oh, geez, like it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, but.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a whole new kind of crazy. But I mean, I guess they're crazy, but now they're in your life because of this.
Yeah, so you got the kind of the crazies, but then like the whole thing about the kidnapping stuff, I mean, that's legit. Like parents come to me probably once a week, and they're like, we need to be able to protect our kids, and I want to get a thing for like keeping track of them. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. So the reality is some of the stuff we're working on this year could enable that type of technology, but there's like an ethical dilemma there of like, do we actually allow, like, I don't think having an implantable device that any parent could go and then like find out, that's not ethical in my opinion.
Right.
But having an implantable device that could, involve police and special, like,
right, you get Big Brother involved. It's not just parents; it's Big Brother.
Well, it's more about setting it's the ordeal that has to be enabled for that to occur. Like, you just like on a whim, like, you're not at Becky's house, like you said. Let's like deal with your kid, right? But if it's like, my kid is missing and it's been 24 hours, like, let's bring out the helicopters and like turn on the radio and like try to find them. I mean, it's a different level, right? So, and that could be useful. So,
suppose in the next 10, 15 years, this is successful. It works, and we do have the GPS technology. Ethics aside. Do you foresee any global governments enforcing this as being like, all citizens must have this so that we can know where you are in case of emergency or in case of a terrorist thing? We'll help you.
Sure.
It's always that reason.
I don't think it's ever going to be that because it's not necessary. It's already being done now with biometric.
Right, just being able to
So,
scan when people
Yeah,
come
I
and
mean,
go.
you think about like any system of oppression like that. If it involves a tangible thing, right, that thing can be destroyed or subverted or
Right.
messed with or whatever. But if it's like
you
right,
Right, we
take,
could
it,
switch it
take
up.
yours and put it in
Right,
here,
or-
and make you go do something bad, and they'll go track
yeah,
you.
exactly. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And I mean, on the physics side, like to be able to deploy this huge network of like readers and devices, it's just not even economically viable. But when you talk about like UK, right? They're like a surveillance state. They have cameras and festooned and pointed in every direction, and all leads back, and facial recognition is done automatically. I mean, you get enrolled in these systems by just walking through an area, and you can't really change your facial structure and your gait and like how you smell. There's even chemical sensors now that like sniff you as you walk by. I mean, this is kind of this is my story about biometrics versus RFID. You buy a ticket to go to Disney World, and you pay the plane ticket, you pay the thousands of dollars for all getting everything. You get up to the front to get in, and you have to scan your fingerprint to tie it to the ticket because they don't want you to buy a 3-day and then go a day and sell it.
Right.
That's fine, except there's no notice that this is required. There's no alternative, and there's no like license or guarantee or any agreement that they
Right.
won't keep it forever and ever and ever. And you can't change this. I mean,
But you're there and you're excited.
You're there, and now you're like, oh shit! Like this,
I flew all the way here. And
I'm not going to give up thousands of I mean, I threw a fit the first time. I'm like, I want to see somebody I can talk to about this. I want to see a policy. I want to see what do you do with my biometric data. Like, I'm pissed that I got here and spent all this
Right.
money, and now you didn't even tell me this was required. And I mean, it irked me. But of course, like the family's waiting. I've spent thousands of dollars, and I'm like, ugh, beep. You know?
ooh, that's rough.
Yeah, it's rough. So I don't know. That's just my like.
I don't know. I think I'd make my family suffer. Like you, no.
Yeah, I'll pick you up later. I'm not going to submit my fingerprint to Disneyland.
Any
Yeah.
questions?
No, I think my initial question was what you already answered was if somebody buys this and they pay with a credit card, does the RFID serial tag be
That was-
attached to it? And
that was
you
answered,
said no. So
And that's actually another good point. Like people are worried. Like what if in the future you pay with this thing, right? And then they're tracking that. I'm like the mode and method of interacting with third-party systems. Like if you use this just with your own door lock, there's no privacy issue because you're using it with your own stuff. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not a third party that's collecting this information. But anytime you use anything to interact with a third-party system, credit cards, anything, you're giving up your name, your location, the time of day, how much you bought at this particular location. That's a huge amount of data, and people just do it without thinking, right? But for some reason, it gets them thinking about privacy. If you talk about doing it with an implant, somehow it's different. It's really not any different.
It's
if
just
you
metadata.
Yeah, I mean, you're interacting with a payment system just the same way you would with a card. So,
well, I guess my real question would be, in the event of you have this in here, you said there's some programmable data. What can you program into it?
you can program any binary data that you want, and some people are carrying. I mean, because you can get through like. It's MRI safe. You can get through like airports just fine. So some people in certain areas that have problems with cryptography, and their governments are kind of cracking down. I mean, they've put their crypto keys on it, and then like not told because you can't really see it, and at least in me and most people, and you can go right through the airport and they can search whatever, but they're not going to find this. And so there's kind of a covert, spy versus spy kind of application for it. You can put literally crypto keys on it that then you use to unlock your laptop and email and whatever, right?
Yeah, that was my original thought. I was like, I can buy this with my credit card, and it's more along the lines of if I could take if you say any binary data, so I could take the key fob functionality of certain credit cards, and if I could capture that data and put that here, would that work? Is it the same?
No, so there's different standards of EMV payment. So one of the first standards was simply like it was horrible. They basically said any of the magstripe data, we'll just put it into an application file on a particular type of tag, and so that could essentially be read with the right reader, and you could just literally buy an off-the-shelf point of sale reader that's already got the keys to unlock that application in it, and you just beep, and then it spits out the data, magstripe data, in the serial port. But taking that and then programming in this, it's not the same type of chip. The command sets are different, and it's a whole different thing. But it is something we're looking at.
Okay. So then the other question I had was about your phone's got an NFC a chip inside, and that can you program your chip in your hand with the same kind of ID that your phone would have?
Actually, yeah, the best and like the primary way most people program their chips is with their phones. So they'll bust out an Android phone, put an NXP like tag writer app on it, and then just boop, program stuff in. And in fact, we have an app that is on the Android platform that will essentially protect your tag. So the NTAG 216 chip inside the XNT tag is it's meant for NFC, and it has certain features that are great for like the 5-cent label you stick onto a movie poster, but they're bad for an implant, particularly like lock bytes and password protection that is just set to factory. So the first thing you want to do is run the Dangerous NFC app to disable the lock bytes, so somebody can't just write like screw you and then lock it. The other thing is you need to protect your configuration bytes, and the DNFC app does all that for you. You don't have to do anything. You just scan it and it protects it. So
without your app or whatever, someone can steal this, but they can't really modify it or mess with it. Or
without the app, they could. That's the thing. So
you could cut it and rip it out, and then
they could do that obviously, but they could literally just mess with you. If you don't protect your tag with Dangerous NFC, then you can. Somebody could like, let me see that tag, and then they write something and lock it, and then that point you can't change it, so you'd have to like rip it out and some customers had done that by accident. They'd like start. I want to write my B card on here, and then like, and protect the tag. Yeah, I want to protect the contents. Beep,
so
beep.
once it's protected, is there any way to?
Once it's locked, you cannot unlock it.
So
that's why we disable the lock bytes with Dangerous NFC, and we protect the contents with the password instead. And so we have you set a password that's not factory standard, and then we protect the configuration bytes. So essentially, it's locking the tag open, but you can still protect the contents.
Got it. So otherwise, you could have somebody come by with a writing app and just kind of grab your hand and touch.
Potentially, yeah.
Here, hold my phone.
Sure, yeah. Or it has a malicious reader on it, and you go boop boop, right? Hey, check this out. I mean, it's possible.
Just make it so that every time they pick up their phone, it opens up a really bad website.
right, exactly.
Like, oh no.
I mean, the reality is, it's going to probably be you that accidentally locks your tag. Nobody's really going to know that you have one of these, it's still pretty covert technology. But yeah, I mean,
do you have any scars or anything like that? Or
well, my right hand's real scarred up because it's my project hand. And that's the other thing. Pet tags have this coating on them. It's a Parylene Biobond coating, and it's meant for like an untrained veterinary assistant or like. But probably more accurately,
grab the thing and just slap it together.
Like,
a dog's gonna yelp and then go home and run around.
Yeah, just like, and so they volunteer at the animal shelters doing it, and so the tag needs to stay in place because they need to know where to scan it. They can't just if it migrates and moves around, they're not going to scan everywhere in the dog. So. But I didn't want that. I wanted to be able to replace it or remove it. And because we're placing it much more carefully, the fascia layer of the tissue, it's pretty good about locking it down. Maybe we have like 0.025% of cases, like 5 dudes in the last thousands that we sold, that it will move around. But they change their diet, they take a supplement, and it locks it down. But anyway, so being able to take it out later if you want is pretty simple. You just like poke here and like do that and like scalpel and pop it out. So
speaking of taking it out, how long does the battery last?
Well, there is no battery. That's you can last forever.
Stays powered. I guess it's just passive depending on.
It's passive, and it basically inducts power. So like on a device like a door lock or something, the reader has a little electromagnetic coil, generates a magnetic field, which is small. I mean, the magnetic fields that are generated are difficult to make larger, which is again why the proximity is so small. But so it makes a magnetic field. You bring the tag within that field, and it starts inducting power. And then to communicate, the tag will either induct more or less current, and then the reader can tell that's a 1, a 0, and back and forth. So
I got one more question. It's silly, but this is one of my reasons for being hesitant so far.
Sure.
Myself, I'm not getting one of these. Kane and Zach are, but I get headaches, and you rub right there.
Yeah.
Can you still massage there without it being awkward or feel weird or whatever?
Yeah, you could, but I mean, the whole idea of like the ley lines or the like the whatever lines. People in the kind of the Asian medical community, mystic Chinese medicine, they're like, "You have what? Where? Don't you get headaches? Doesn't that screw your whole?" No,
yeah.
I'm like, no, because personally, I think it's bogus. But if you get headaches, man, like. Go into the cranial lines between your bone plates and then pull your ears, and that's way better than massaging here.
Tips. You guys didn't even know you were going to get some tips like that. Pull your ears.
Yeah. I give it a go. Give
It-
them a nice yank.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Is
Because
this where
there's
the
pressure.
blood flows there?
Well, there's pressure that builds up, and you can it depends on what type of headache you have, but yeah, it's the muscles get tight around here, and you massage those muscles and pull. Yeah, it works.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's pretty awesome. Again, dangerousthings.com. You guys can check this stuff out. And maybe we'll talk about doing a special edition or something for our store. I don't know if you guys want. Let us know if you guys want it in the comments. If you'd pay, top dollar for it, then maybe we'll think about it. All right, Amal. Thanks very much.
Awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.